Hey, what's going on, Teach Better fam? It's Chris here, and I am bringing you a bonus episode from last weekend's Admin Mastermind Rewind and live Q&A bi-weekly family check-in with Rae Hughart and Dave Schmittou. We hope you enjoy the awesome conversations and discussions that took place last weekend during this event, and we hope that you follow us in the future. You can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube and Twitter for any of these events coming up at Teach Better Team. We hope you enjoy this episode and hope it brings a lot of positivity to start your week.
Hey Dave, we are officially live. Believe it or not, we're back again. Sunday nights. This is what we do every other Sunday. We come live, we answer questions, we recap mastermind conversations. We just kind of goof off and update the world on anything we can think of that is hopefully helpful to someone. I'm so glad we're getting started. We're going to play a little video clip here. Our hope would be in the comments if you could say hi, tell us where you're watching from, any questions that you know you want us to discuss. Although we have time as things come up, you can always be commenting those, and we'll be right back. Hey, Dave, happy Sunday, friend. How are you?
Oh, I lost my sound.
You did, and you have this weird feedback coming through. Hashtag tech issues. What's going on, dude?
I got to fix this.
Yeah, he's struggling. Dave, you focus on getting your sound up and going. No stress. We are going to say hi to everyone who's watching. Happy Sunday. Remember that everything that we're doing right now is to try and help you guys as much as possible. We like to go live every other Sunday and answer your questions, share some positivity, and hopefully get us on track for a successful week. I know we have a whole lot going on this week and a lot coming over the next few months that we can kind of dive into. But first and foremost, we just want to say hello. We want to say happy Sunday, and we do want to get your mind thinking. Dave and I are happy to be live as long as you need us. Sometimes we're live here for a half an hour. Sometimes it's an hour. And this whole time that we're live, it's strictly just to support you. So if you have a question or a topic that you want to share in the comments to have us discuss it, we would love to. If you have a celebration this week that you want to throw out, maybe an aha moment with a student, or I just had a birthday, maybe you had a birthday, you could throw that in the comments. But we are going to have a really, really good time talking shop, hopefully assuming that Dave figures out his audio. We do have a lot of people already commenting, which is awesome. This is why we don't even need Dave here, because I can just say hello to all of our friends. Nikki, good to see you. Olivia, good to see you. Holly Stewart is here. Aaron, good to see you. The incredible Jeff Gargis. This is just so good to see all of you. Happy, happy Sunday. I hope you all had a wonderful weekend. Dave, are you back with us oh, nope, he's not back with us. See, this is just what happens. Dave ditches me constantly. Thank you, Aaron, for the birthday message. You're so stinking sweet. I did have a really fun birthday, but as somebody who doesn't think much of birthdays, I think birthdays are wonderful. I love people who say happy birthday. Holy cow, that's so nice that somebody takes a few moments to share something positive and loving with you. But I don't know that I'm a big, let's have a big birthday shebang kind of person. And I cannot tell you, I was showered with love and Teach Better positivity, and I could not be more appreciative of all of that. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm glad Dave's audio stopped working, because this gives me the opportunity to thank you for all that you do. Liv is already jumping in. How's a special day? Liv, it was so fun. Thank you for the sweet messages before and after the birthday. I love when you reach out and text me. Hi, Jeff. Good to see you. You're pretty incredible. So we'll keep that there. And Kylie, it's so good to see you. Hello, hello, hello. Let's see if we can bring Dave back in here. Dave, how is your audio working?
Well, so much. First of all, you are so articulate. I could follow everything you were saying just by reading your lips. So well done. Well done. Yeah. Sorry, I actually just wanted you to have the screen to yourself now that you're so old and wise. I know everybody just wanted to flood you with birthday wishes anyway. So I'm good to go now.
Good. I'm so glad you're good to go. And I won't lie, I needed this time to say thank you to everybody, because Dave, I was showered with love and positivity. I've never had a birthday that was so just like about sharing people sharing their appreciation. It was the nicest day. So I needed a moment to be like, holy cow, guys, thanks for showing up. I got my fix for the year. I'm good.
That's amazing. That's awesome.
So good. So we have a lot of friends here, Dave. I know that usually we start out with questions. So we're going to give a shout out. Anybody who has a question, maybe something they're working through for this week, feel free to throw that topic in the chat. As we get started, we are obviously here to help you in any way possible. So if you guys don't have questions, we'll hang out. We'll update you on a few things. Dave and I have a few things we want to discuss. And then we'll, wish you a wonderful evening. If you have specific things you want to make sure Dave and I discuss, whether it be Teach Better team related or maybe a problem that you're finding in your classroom or school building, share it out. Maybe we can help you problem solve. Dave, how was your weekend?
My weekend was actually really, really good. It's been a while since I forced myself to shut it down, but I did. And here in Michigan, it hit a whopping 40 degrees today, and my kids were acting like it was 80. Outside, shorts, t-shirts, jumping on the trampoline, just loving life. And perspective matters, perspective matters. So it was good.
You're right. Because when we come from the summer and it turns 40, everyone gets their jackets out, they stay inside, the windows are closed, and you're right. The moment that happens from winter transitioning, people are like, it's summer because it's 35. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, my weekend it wasn't quite as exciting as yours, but it was good. I'll take it. I'll definitely take it.
I think that's good. The only difference, it sounds like, between your weekend and mine was that I got birthday balloons, and it doesn't sound like you had birthday balloons.
I did not. I've been old for a long time, and you're just getting there. So I think there's a difference too.
Just a little bit. Dave, we're getting a little feedback in your headphones. I wonder, sometimes when you plug them in, if you twist them a little bit, it might fix just a little bit. We're going to go with it. I'm a
mess here today. I'm so sorry.
You're wonderful. Oh my God, 61 tomorrow where Brianna lives. That is amazing. We thank you so much, all the love. I so appreciate it. I see that we're getting some comments already on questions that we're going to discuss. So thank you for those of you that are dropping those in. We'll discuss those soon. Dave, it's really interesting because every week for our bi-weekly family check-in, live Q&A, whatever we call this, someday we're going to come up with a creative title. Really any topic's fair game. I mean, not only spilling secrets of the team, which we seem to do anytime we're live, but there's so many topics to discuss right now because, like you're saying, we're kind of moving out of the winter into the spring. So there's different fun challenges that come with that in the school, right? I feel like March, April, May, there are different types of months to work in a school. It's also like we're kind of ending a year that was ridiculous, right? We have Teacher Appreciation Week coming up in just a few months. We have big live events that are going on with the Teach Better team in the next few months. I feel like we could just fill this time updating everyone on everything. It's ridiculous.
Well, let's do some of that.
Well, there's a lot of places to start. I do want to say we're going to get to Livia's question here to start us off. But Dave, I do want to give a special shout out because I don't think we've talked together much about the fact that we just released a course together at Teach Better Academy. And I have loved having this out. Would you tell us a little bit about the course, maybe for people who haven't seen any of the information yet?
Well, first of all, it is a Rae Hughart special. I mean, you are driving this. I'm just riding shotgun with you. So it's an amazing course, strategic student conferencing. So it's all about feedback, getting and receiving feedback from students, not just so that you can document where kids are, but so that you can plan your next steps and being strategic about the questions you ask, the responses that you give. It's powerful. It's exciting. It's fun. I love the way you laid it out throughout all the modules. And then you and I get to sit down and talk shop sort of like this at the end of every module. We just kind of break it down and talk it through. So it's fun. It's good.
Yeah, I had a lot of people that when that came out on the 1st of March, they're like, ooh, over the weekend, I'm going to dive into that. So that would have been this weekend. I'm hoping to get some emails and get some feedback from people. There's been a lot of positivity already, but you all can go check that out at teachbetteracademy.com. That was a really fun course too. So thanks, Dave, for being my partner in that. It was way more
anytime
fun with you. So fun.
Yeah. Well, isn't that the story of life right there? Well, first of all, the story of life is it's always way more fun with Dave. Yes, we got that. But just having somebody to discuss and debate and just grow with. And that's what it was all about. You and I, we didn't necessarily even know what the conversations were going to be. It was kind of organic, which was, I think, so powerful. It was just two people talking shop about a common idea and sometimes just asking each other questions in the moment. So
that's my style. I love that. Yeah. So if you guys go check out that course, like I said, teachfairacademy.com, it's called Strategic Student Conferencing. And it wasn't so much about it, like finding the time for student conferencing, but once you have the time, how are you going to utilize it to, the highest effectiveness possible? So it was very, very fun to discuss. Livia threw a question here that is perfect to kind of transition to all about standard-based grading. She says that the highest proficiency scale, we call it exceeding. Can you tell me more about your thoughts on that top end, please? So maybe, Dave, we should start with what is the proficiency scale? And then she's talking about that quote unquote highest level of a proficiency scale.
Yeah. So Liv, feel free to correct any of my thinking, because I think we're on the same page here. So if I'm going left field, pull me back in, because I think different people do things differently. A statement I've made before is there's no standard way to do standards-based grading. So what we're going to be saying right now is, I think what Liv is articulating, if you do it differently where you are, it could still be standards-based grading, even if it doesn't match what we're talking through. So
sure.
Liv, I believe what you're talking through is you've got some sort of scale or rubric or some sort of creation that focuses in on the process of learning. It's not a binary got it, don't got it thing like we've turned learning into for so many years. I think it dates back to the 1940s, those old cartoons where the light bulb comes on. Learning doesn't happen that way.
Yep.
It's like a dimmer switch more than anything else. So you've got some sort of scale where you're documenting and making note of where the kids are on their progression. And I think your question is, once a kid has got it or they're proficient on your scale, most scales go beyond that. And they have extra things that kids can do to help reinforce the idea that learning never ends and it keeps going. So I believe, Liv, your question is basically what happens at that beyond proficient level, beyond the got it. So if I'm wrong, Liv, correct me, but I think that's where we're at. Does that make sense to you? Is that how you picked it up, Rae?
That's how I read it as well. And it's interesting because every district that we work with on standard-based grading or just discussions we've had with educators, this is actually a really challenging topic to train on in terms of professional development. So I agree with Holly, though. Right before we get into this, Holly says, I love the dimmer switch metaphor. I couldn't agree more with that. I'm so glad you explained it that way. So yes, Olivia just commented and saying, yeah, we have a 4-point scale: emerging, developing, proficient, which is like mastering the concept at grade level, and then exceeding. So what are your thoughts on supporting educators at that exceeding level?
So I'll walk you backwards to some of the first of all, the terminology that was used at the beginning of this before we get all the way up to that extending level. So I think it's important for us to recognize that whatever we call those labels, students are always emerging and they're always developing and they're always doing something with it. So even if they're at that proficient level, they're still developing, they're still growing. So we don't want to just take that label and use that label to define what a kid is. When they're extending, they're still extending their learning somewhere, somehow. And I think sometimes how we label that paints us into a box. For example, when we have extending, I think a lot of people, when they hear the term extending, will make this connection that, okay, now I'm supposed to make it relevant to the real world or take it outside of the classroom and extend it to life. Yeah. But the reality is, a lot of our standards at that level 1, level 2, level 3 level on a 4-point scale should still be relating to the real world and to life. And if we wait until we get to that other application level, or we start to say, when I get to that 4th level, that's when I'm going to start extending to other classrooms or making it multi-subject area, cross-curricular, we might have already missed some opportunities early on that we could have had. So I've got more concrete things that I can go at for that level 4, but I see you nod your head. So I'm curious to hear your thoughts before I keep going, Rae.
No, I actually think that you're totally spot on, and I love that the discussion around relating it to a subject matter's, like outside world connection should be something that happens constantly. Mm-hmm. And I think it's an easy go-to for educators to say, "Oh, I've taught this standard. Now I want them to explore how it exists in the real world." And I just want to preface that anytime you do anything, it should be based on some sort of guiding standard. There's a lot of standards, most of them, depending on your grade level, your subject, and where you teach, a lot of them already require that. That's like the meat and potatoes of understanding the standard. So really being able to read or understand what you need your students to fully grasp to consider it mastered is kind of about as how I build kind of everything below and everything above, if that makes sense.
No, absolutely. It's the idea is, another word for this is transference. So they can take something that you've just done in isolation, and they can take that knowledge and they can transfer it to a novel situation. So with reading, for example, you teach them how to comprehend or to find characters in one story, but then you expose them to a different story and still expect them to utilize the same skills. They can transfer the skill.
Right.
Same thing with math. You might teach them a formula in isolation with a problem, but then you expect them to be able to do the same thing with a novel problem when you're assessing their understanding. That's truly extending knowledge and transferring it. But in most situations, that's actually what the standard calls for. So at most levels, that's a level 3, but it all depends on how the standard is written.
I have this conversation every single time I talk to an educator around the Teach Further model, because the Teach Further model allows students to kind of like immerse themselves in a career field, in some sort of job role where the content they're learning, regardless of the subject matter, is being applied. So they are going throughout this internship, this themed internship, learning the relevancy behind their content. And sometimes that higher order thinking level, once you've mastered the idea, is to continue in that internship. But I've also had a lot of discussions with educators around finding other career fields, having the student actually explore and make a connection with a different business or organization that uses that skill. And how can they see that skill is occurring, or where do they see that skill being utilized in other subject areas? And why is that? How is that being transferred? And so the extension, the standard might say, hey, a student needs to be able to understand this idea and apply it to real world situations. Well, in that circumstance, it's not enrichment then for them to be able to go out and explore. But if the standard says the student needs to be able to complete something and like an equation of some sort, student needs to be able to apply this equation in a non-real world situation. Okay, so then maybe the extension is for them to explore where it exists in their outside world. So it really depends on that language.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you nailed it there. So to go to Liv's question here, because one of Liv's questions is, how do you encourage more teachers to offer those opportunities for students? And it's a 2-part question. So number one, I want to address what that level 4, or if you're on a 5-point rubric with the level 5, whatever above and beyond proficient looks like. I want to talk about that. And I think that blends into how you allow more kids to have that opportunity. So it all goes back to whether you look DOK or Bloom's taxonomy, right? The standards are written at a certain level of depth. There's multiple content strands within an individual standard. Each standard has a verb. A lot of us a decade ago were breaking down standards and we'd cut them out and we'd map out where the verb is and all that. So same kind of concept. But you look at the verb of the content and say, where is this at on Bloom's or DOK? I'm going to use Bloom's just because I think for this example, it might help us a little bit. Yeah. So Bloom's taxonomy, depending on the model you're looking at, has 6, 7, or 8 levels. So you've got recall, understanding, analysis, synthesis, evaluation, creation, and then I add a Schmidt-esque version and I add reflection to the top. Neither here nor there. But if you look at your standard, and the standard asks for students to analyze blah, 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 that becomes on a 4-point scale. Analyze whatever that content is level 3. Level 4 is very easy to get to then. It's the next level up on Bloom's taxonomy, or the next level up on the DOK level. And what is pretty cool is, I know, Liv, you're in BC, up in Canada, but it's actually very similar to what we do here in the States. Yep. Every single state in the United States has standards that were based off of the Common Core. They might have adjusted and adapted. The Common Core was written so that every single grade level simply progresses in the depth of knowledge. So if you're assessing proficiency at a 6th grade level and a student hits that level 3 and you're moving up to level 4, guess what you're doing? You're actually now assessing 7th grade proficiency levels. So that whole idea of, a student is working at a 6th grade level or 7th grade level or 5th grade level, you can truly assess and guide and plan ahead when you use some sort of scale like that. What this also ends up doing is, unfortunately or fortunately, in classrooms and in schools, you'll start to see that advanced classes, accelerated classes start to take new shape, new meaning, or start to erode away, because we're no longer chasing labels. We're chasing where students are on individual skills with individual standards and moving them accordingly. So
I love this discussion. I know a lot of people already. Chelsea just jumped in saying, oh my gosh, I'm so valuing this discussion. Guys, I want to emphasize that these questions are not only really valuable, Olivia, thank you for bringing them to us, but also they're really complex and they're challenging. And so Dave just gave you so many different things to consider. Resources I just heard. If you were listening to this, maybe you're newly connected to the team. You're not sure what Bloom's taxonomy is. Maybe you don't know what Webb's depth of knowledge is. These are things you can go explore. There's so many charts. There's actually a free course in our academy on these ideas. So there's a lot there that you can dive into, tools and resources to support you. But even with all those in front of you, it's still challenging. And I think the reason we find teachers uncomfortable with above and beyond grade level expectations in providing students that enrichment is because we simply don't support teachers in the professional development in that area. We are so concerned all the time around the students that are falling farther and farther behind. We very rarely actually teach our teachers how to go above and beyond their content, because typically a teacher says, oh, we've accomplished this content. I don't need to go above and beyond. I'm going to move on to the next subject. And that works, I guess, when you have all your students, all 36 of them in the exact same spot, and you're teaching this traditional model. But the reality is when you open up your classroom to really exploring personalized learning and individual assignments and choices for your students throughout their learning progression, you finally get opportunities to explore those enrichment pieces. So I think being able to accept that this is a little challenging is important right now to emphasize as we continue this conversation.
Oh, absolutely. And I don't want anybody to walk away from this thing. Okay, tomorrow's Monday. I'm going to try that tomorrow. No. Don't do that, because by Tuesday, you'll be throwing in the towel saying, I give up. I would actually challenge people before they even start thinking this is something they want to dabble. Go back and look at the mastery chat from this past Thursday and read some of that. Oh my gosh. It was amazing. Where Chelsea took us. Yeah, Chelsea took us through reimagining grading and this kind of conversation. How can you do this? And what are some of those small pieces that you can start to unpack?
And we have to connect this conversation between, guys, have you noticed we were asked a standard-based grading question, but it led to lesson planning. Because you cannot change your grading without also adjusting the way that you are providing information and questioning information with students. Assessment, grading, lesson planning, differentiation, mastery learning, all these things are so blended. So this discussion hopefully is opening your mind to, oh, I really want to change my grading practices. It was an incredible mastery chat this week. Just go over to Twitter, search #mastery chat. You can read everything that happened. There was also a live recap afterwards with Chelsea and Megan. But in addition to that, it opens up the floodgates to like 75 other conversations, which is awesome.
Yeah.
But it's a lot sometimes.
It is.
Every time.
It is, absolutely. And we're speaking of Chelsea, and she's jumping into the comments here, and she points out that sometimes trying to figure out what those extending activities could be for kids is a challenge. It goes back to Liv's too, where she's seeing a lot of teachers are struggling to get there. And this is not an indictment on anybody. It's not. You pointed this out, Rae. It's a lot of times it's because we haven't been trained what to do. We don't know what that looks like. But there are also some relatively small things that we can do to get there. Number one is if we go to the mindset of, okay, maybe that next level up is simply what proficiency looks like at the grade level above. Right. A conversation with the people up there to say, what does it look like in your classroom if a student can do this is a great place to start.
I like that recommendation a bunch.
Yeah, right?
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, because it doesn't always have to be, when we're looking at what do students have to be able to do at that level 4, we're not saying what hoops do the kids have to be able to jump through. It's how do I demonstrate that they can do what the standard or what that level 4 says. It's what evidence do I need to collect?
Yeah, it's really interesting, Dave. I think the two easy suggestions I would have for somebody struggling to find those opportunities for students that are above grade level, one being those conversations. I mean, we really, really do need to talk to our colleagues more often. I myself, for my birthday weekend, did a little girls trip. Thank goodness everyone was vaccinated. We actually all got tested before we got together. It was just, we tried to be as safe as possible. It's a small group. And 2 of them are 7th grade teachers in my building, and 2 of us were 6th grade teachers. And it's incredible how just simply discussions and collaboration can allow you to serve your students better, because you know what next year looks like, you know what you're working toward. So I really would encourage each and every one of you, if you appreciate this discussion, if you want to explore more, the simple opportunity to discuss with colleagues is huge. And then the other, Dave, which you also shared earlier, is to learn a little bit about Bloom's taxonomy and DOK levels. It's not something that is really easy to understand, but I sure can tell you that if you open a new tab right now, don't close that, don't close that. But if you open a new tab and you search Bloom's taxonomy and click the images, there are a lot of charts that you could print out and just have next to you on your desk. So when you're reading a standard at any point in time, you can look at the language being used in the standard of what the student needs to be able to do, directly connect that to Bloom's taxonomy, and then look, you already have supports, ideas, and suggestions, brainstorming right there, because it's going to give you other opportunities that are not only scaffolding towards mastery, but also enrichment. So those small little tools can be really helpful.
Yeah, it's powerful when you truly start to understand what is involved within each level. Because I'll be honest, here I am, I'm a former language arts and social studies teacher. And if we're just talking DOK, so I'll break down DOK, which is when we look at the low levels of DOK, I tend to say it's the things that we would get mad at if a kid cheated from somebody else, but we give them an A when they cheat off of us. That's DOK 1. So if they can just spit back our words to us, even if they put them in their own words, it's DOK level 1. Mm-hmm. I struggle at DOK level 1 tasks. No matter what it is, I struggle. I taught social studies and I don't know the names of battles in the Civil War. I couldn't tell you who the 24th president was. I have a hard time remembering people's names that when I meet them on the street and shake their hands, kiss their babies, I forget their names. But those are DOK level 1 tasks. Just because it's DOK level 1 does not mean easy, right? For me, I live and breathe DOK 3 and 4, debating and having these conversations and analyzing things and trying to create something new. But for other people, those sorts of tasks are hard and it's easy for them to memorize. So don't equate easy and hard with depth of knowledge and understanding. Those are different things. So I see some people commenting in the chat that sometimes kids kind of game the system because they want to stick around where the easy things are. It should not necessarily just be easy at DOK 1, 2, or 3. I would challenge people that if you're having a pre-assessment, make that assessment. Get rid of pre just means pre-instruction. Wherever a kid scores, that's where they begin. And if they can demonstrate that they're proficient ahead of time, sweet. Then they don't have to sit around and listen to you talk for a week, right?
Oh my God, pre-tests are so important, guys. If you are not providing your students that gauge of where they are before they get started, holy cow, you're missing an incredible opportunity to gain some insight on students before you get started. It's so incredibly valuable. I like to think of it like, DOK level 1 is the questions you can ask Alexa. Like if you had an Alexa in your classroom, and that and your students could use it freely, that a lot of the case can be DOK level 1. Now, if you're having them do other things, then obviously it gets more challenging. But there's just such an interesting process students go through to learn information, and every single subject, every single teacher approaches things a little bit differently. But there are definitely tools out there to support us.
Yeah, absolutely, it's good stuff.
So Dave, I'm glad that we kicked off our conversation today. Thanks to Livia and Chelsea and Holly, everybody who's been jumping in, discussing grading assessment, because that did really resonate with the discussion that we had on Thursday with Mastery Chat that happens every single Thursday at 8 o'clock Eastern over on Twitter. And then don't forget, we do that recap afterwards that we stream on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. But in addition to that, we also are in the midst right now of a live grid method building process that's happening every Tuesday at 8 o'clock Eastern, where Chad is going live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch to build a grid with one-on-one coaching with a teacher that might be elementary, secondary, variety of subjects. I mean, it's so cool that they're doing this, and that's going on through mid-April. Yeah. But then this discussion lends itself really well to something kicking off in April with you and Caitlin with the focus on the focus. I'm really— Are
you dropping some news on me right now?
I mean, I'm not dropping news. I think people kind of know it might be coming, but can you just preview it? Because if they're watching now, they've watched a half an hour of this information, or maybe they're listening as a bonus episode of the Teach Better Talk podcast. Just tell them a snippet. What's it about?
Sure. So let me preface this by reminding people, if you're not watching that stuff that Chad is doing right now on Tuesdays, mind blowing. It's not a conversation about how am I going to test my kids. I mean, when we're talking grids, a grid is your curriculum map. It's your assessment plan. It's your instructional plan. I mean, you're building this diagnostic instrument that you just got to plug in and say, kids, let's go. So it's powerful. Watch it and go with it. When Chad wraps up this mini series, the next binge-worthy show that we're going to be producing on Teach Better TV is Focus on the Focus, right? With me and Caitlin, where we're going to have some poking the bear kind of conversations, where we're going to try to have conversations similar to this. We'll talk grading. We'll talk about how to identify the things that are the most essential, the things that are the most important. We're trying to have this conversation at the tail end of the school year, because as a former building administrator, one of the things I hated the most was when people said, I can't wait till next year so I can try. No, we want you to be able to dive in at the end of this year and try, so you can continue to refine and tweak some things before next year. So pretty much, if you've got questions about grading or standards or assessment, instruction, if you just got questions that you think, well, Caitlin is so smart, I need to ask Caitlin some questions, we'll be hanging out for a couple of weeks on Tuesdays in April. May, yeah. Wednesday. Sorry, Chad's Tuesday. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, Chad's Tuesday. You guys will be Wednesdays. It's going to start mid-April and go through mid-May. I know we haven't released a lot of details on that, but because this came up, I want you guys to know all these live streams we're talking about, the Twitter chats, everything's free. Like, we are just out trying to share, and then everything will be housed in the Academy as a free course. So if you missed any of Chad's lives so far, I mean, he obviously has weeks and weeks go, further. It'll be in the Academy when it's all over. Same with the Focus on the Focus series with Dave and Caitlin. It'll be in the Academy for you, but we really would love for you to participate live, because while Dave and I can spitball here, and I do love our Sunday nights together, Dave, you and Caitlin are being much more strategic in the professional development that you're going to be planning in April. There's going to be a lot of discussions. There are going to be resources and everything in between. So I hope that if this was a little bit enticing to you now, thinking through grading, assessment, lesson design, I think you guys are really going to enjoy that April series. So that'll be super cool. I'm excited for that to officially be out.
Me too. And I love the timing of it too, because I know in a lot of states, April is really testing season. Yeah. Whether it's the big summative assessments that the state is making people take, or if you're at a secondary level, you might be starting to think final exams, or wherever you might be. So we're going to have this conversation of how do you really find data that's useful to you? How do you maximize where you are? So it'll be fun.
So good. So Dave, we have hit our half an hour mark. We will take questions as long as you guys have them. We've seen a lot of positivity over the past few minutes, sharing how valuable the grid building live series is being. Holly's giving a shout out to your phrase, poking the bear. You know that we love that, Dave. Poking the bear is always good. There's so much love being shared, but I also want to make sure we highlight a little bit of what's going on with the Admin Mastermind.
Yeah.
Because as you guys know, Admin Mastermind happens every single week, twice on Tuesdays. Dave Schmittou is an incredible facilitator of those conversations. I love being able to pop in as often as I can. But those are big discussions with leaders from around the world.
Yeah, for sure. And, this week, it was a really cool week. And I know I say that all the time, but truly, this week was really special. If we go back to October, November, December, you and I were having lots of conversations about empathy and grace and judgment and that whole talk. And one of the things that we called out repeatedly was that it's a lot easier for us at times to have grace and empathy for those that we serve below us on a hierarchy or in some bureaucratic chain.
Right.
But it's more difficult at times to look above those people that are paid to evaluate and lead us and have the same level of empathy and grace. Yeah. I just want to point out really quickly, the leaders that come to Mastermind truly from around the world, from Canada to the States, to Colombia, to Nepal, to Australia, the level of compassion and empathy that they deserve is incredible. They are dealing with moving target after moving target after moving target. And every single week they come back and they say, how do I advocate for my teachers and how do I support students? That is the number one focus. We've got administrators that are coming together right now, having conversations already about how to support teachers during Teacher Appreciation Week, which is 7 weeks away. They're already trying to figure out what can they do to make sure that teachers feel valued, because teachers deserve it. They deserve to feel that love and they want to make sure that they're feeling supported. We've got administrators saying, how do I make sure that my teachers can truly focus on the priorities right now in these last 3 months, so that they don't, because they're afraid that teachers are going to just give up hope and not want to return in the fall. And they want teachers to leave this year feeling strong and supported and validated. I mean, administrators are out there doing all they can right now to truly pour into teachers. And I absolutely love listening to the conversations.
Oh, it's so exciting, Dave. And I do love the reminder that our leadership, as they continue to run into hurdle after hurdle, and they're doing the best that they can to lead staff throughout a successful year, are already thinking ahead to try and share their love even further during Teacher Appreciation Week, which is the first week of May. So I think that's so exciting. I love Admin Mastermind. I'm so thrilled that we were able to offer that space for administrators to talk shop, ask questions, share resources. So if any of you want to get involved, Dave, will you share, as I'm calling you Jeff Gargas? I don't know if that's a good.
And sorry, my audio is messing up again. Right?
Really bad. Oh my gosh. No, Dave, will you share how people can get involved in the mastermind?
Yeah, it's really easy. Well, I'll give you a couple of ways. Number one, go to teachbetter.com/mastermind. If you go there, you'll register, and then I'll send you an email every Tuesday morning and Tuesday evening saying, come join us at 9 a.m. And then again, at 7 p.m., I'll send another reminder, come join us. And you'll get the Zoom link to hang out with us. Or you can just shoot me a message and I'll sign you up and take care of it for you. So you can either just DM me on social media, you can dave@teachbetter.com. Either way, we'll get you signed up. And when we say school leaders, we're talking school leaders. So it's called Administrator Mastermind. But if you are an assistant principal, a dean, a superintendent, an assistant superintendent, if you are going through a graduate program with dreams of becoming an administrator someday, it's the space for you. So
love that, Dave. And I mean, I love being able to pop in and hear the ideas because it really is a solution-focused group.
Absolutely.
And I know that we love to see that in every element of Teach Better, but I guess maybe foolishly, it was surprising to me when I jumped in, seeing that it isn't just an hour of griping about how hard our jobs are, but jumping in and saying, hey, glad that we did an introduction. Good to see everybody. I have a real question that I need to figure out before my Wednesday board meeting. Here's my thoughts and what resource can you share with me? And I think that's just such a beautiful way to, utilize your PLN. So I love it.
No, absolutely. And it's not me talking for an hour. It's no one person stealing the spotlight or the show. It's literally, depending on the number of people that are there, we will break off into as many breakout rooms as we need to have the conversations so we can learn from each other. And I mean, it's so good.
Lindsay Titus, I know, joins a bunch. And also, Lindsay, happy birthday.
Right?
We are birthday twins. I do have to tell you, Dave, and I felt a little lame, but I'm just going to say this out loud because Lindsay, I wanted you to hear this. I am so tickled that we have the same birthday because I learned from you so stinking much. I know this is a little bit of a challenging birthday for you, and I was thinking about you all day. I talked about you on my girls trip weekend. I was oozing the Lindsay Titus love, and it made my birthday better that you were such a big part of my weekend, even though I know you and I weren't physically together. So I just so appreciate you, Lindsay. I'm so excited that you got to celebrate a birthday, and I'm so honored that we're birthday twins because I think you're cooler than sliced bread, and it's so cool that we have that in common.
She is amazing. And let me throw this at you. Do you realize you didn't even know Lindsay Titus last year on your birthdays?
I didn't.
Isn't that crazy?
It's crazy because we just connected around this time
end of March, yeah.
Last year, 2020.
That's crazy. Man, this has been a year.
But how fun is it to I know, like I said earlier, birthdays I think are great, but I don't have too much weight on them. And to then kind of find out that somebody that you admire, you have something in common with them, that is so cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
true story.
When are we celebrating your birthday?
Celebrating it? I don't know that we're ever going to celebrate it, but my birthday is not till October. So we've got a while.
Okay. Good to know. Where I'm going to make sure the whole month is Schmidto month.
Done. I turned 30 this year too. So it's a big one. Big one.
That's so exciting, Dave. 30 I hear is good. I've been 30 for about 24 hours. And it's going super well.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Do you have anything big going on this week? I know we're kind of wrapping up. We'll do a last call for any questions. Anyone need anything? Even if you just want a pep talk, Dave and I are here to make sure your week is awesome. But what do you have going on this week, Dave?
It's another busy week. I feel like spring is in the air. I was saying it's 40 degrees here, and my kids are loving life right now, shorts and t-shirts in the 40-degree weather. But my own kids go back to brick and mortar school this week, 4 days a week. So I'm going to have a quiet place to work, which is fun, but I've got a lot going on. So that the timing is actually really perfect. working with a lot of people all over the place and having some good conversations, and mastermind on Tuesday, brain break on Wednesday. So yeah, it's a good week.
You're very busy. You keep a very busy schedule.
I do, but I need to. You know, I'm similar to Jeff Gargas in that regard, where downtime doesn't work for me. Downtime stresses me out because I'm always thinking, what should I be doing right now? I do not sit still well.
I can sit still well after a really long day for about an hour. That like refuels me. Once I hit that hour mark, like hour and a half, 2 hours, 3 hours, I am like anxious and useless. I'm like, I need to find something to do. I need to open up a laptop. I'm trolling social media to try and find someone who needs something. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. When is spring break for your district?
My district spring break is the week of the 22nd of March. Okay. So we have this week, next week, and then spring break. So we come back the 29th after spring break. It looks like Megan is spring break, not this week, but next week.
That's what made me think of it. So your student teacher, does your student teacher go through the school year, or do they end at spring break? How does that work?
My student teacher will be in my classroom until the first week of May. So I still have her for about 2 more months. Yeah.
Okay. I can only imagine what thoughts are going through your head for that. So do you mind me asking questions? I'm always intrigued by the whole student teacher thing.
Oh, so I would love to find my student teacher. She's fabulous.
Yeah, that's what I hear. So I'm hoping you can shed some light on me here. But with a student teacher at this time of year, when 1,000 things are happening, it's changing daily, the schedules are crazy, and you can kind of see the light at the end of the tunnel. How do you focus strategic conferencing? How do you have strategic conferencing with a student teacher? How do you focus in on what she needs to really narrow in on?
You know, I think it's interesting. I like having a student teacher who can really experience what teaching's like. I think that we coddle our future educators. And I think that we do it not in fear that they won't end up being in education, but in fear of trying to almost shield them from some of the stress that exists in our profession, because they learn so much about how to be incredible lesson planning robots. And then that ends up only being a small percentage of the work that we actually do. And so I've been so fortunate. I've had incredible student teachers. Nicole Miller, who's my student teacher right now, currently looking for a job in the Chicagoland area, is absolutely superb because she's been able to practice being a flexible, effective educator. So we are working on things because she's so good. We're working on things that I don't believe I was working on until my second or third year in the classroom. She's able to fail in a very safe space because, you know, everyone's there to cheer her on. And when things come up that are hurdles, she has the ability to not only problem solve on her own with her roommates, with her friends, like we all did our first few years teaching, but also with mentors, with colleagues, with an entire team, entire staff that is, you know, cheering her on. So I really think it's an incredible experience.
I love everything you just said. And it took me all the way back to Liv's question early on. You have a student teacher right now who is able to extend her knowledge base because you took her and said, I'm going to assume that you can already do this. If you can't, I'll guide you. I'll give you some support. I'll give you some feedback. But we're going to see what you can do first. It wasn't, let me see. Think about this through an experienced teacher lens. If you're being evaluated on a 4-point rubric in your own district, right? Your administrator doesn't come in and say, show me you're at a level 1 first. And once you show me that you're an ineffective teacher, then I'll come back and I'll observe you at a level 2 so you can show me that you are minimally proficient. No, they come in and say, show me that you can do it. If you're above and beyond and amazing and exemplar or whatever, awesome. That's what I want to see next. If not, I'll support you in those deficiencies and those deficit areas, those growth opportunities. And that's what you're doing with your student teacher. And that's what we should be doing with our kids. That's amazing. I love that.
But I really enjoy it. And I had a conference with her. So she is in a full year student teaching experience, which is already amazing. And she's student taught with a colleague of mine who I adore first semester, because I actually had a different student teacher in the fall. And then she joined my classroom in the spring. Well, she had been in a classroom, actually only remotely. She wasn't allowed in the building in the fall because of COVID, but she had been learning a lot of these skills and practicing all these skills. So once I got her, I was like, girl, my mission for you is to make every mistake you can this semester, to try everything you want to try, Because if you can't mess up my classroom, because I won't let you, we're going to make sure kids are successful regardless.
Yes.
But I want you to have this space to try and fail and see successes and question, so that in your first year teaching, you know how to do those skills, right? Those essential skills to be a strong educator. And so actually, to be honest, I know that this is not relevant to what we're talking about, but so I'm going to be out for a period of time next week. I'm starting Tuesday. I'll actually be out. I'm not even going into the school building for about 3 weeks. So I'll hopefully be back after spring break. And everyone who's aware that I'm going to be out has been messaging me like, how you feeling? Can your student teacher handle it? Are you concerned about your students? And truly not one stinking bit. We're like, well, what if they schedule testing over the next 2 weeks? Or what if, something? I'm like, not a stinking bit. Because honestly, there is almost nothing that can happen within the next 2 weeks that her and I haven't already done twice, problem solved, failed, and found success in.
I love that.
It's so cool.
To echo what Liv just said, she is so lucky to have you in that. Because as I'm hearing this, I'm thinking back to my own experience. And even before I became an educator, let me overshare here. My freshman year of college was a mess. I mean, wow. There are some parts of my freshman year that I can't remember, and some parts I wish I could forget. I mean, it was a disaster. And primarily because when I was growing up, I didn't have those opportunities to mess up. I didn't have those opportunities to make some big mistakes and then go ask somebody else, how do I fix this? How do I adjust? How do I learn? Yeah. I don't want to say I was helicoptered, but I was protected. Right. I was very loved and very protected and very nurtured. I went to college 1,000 miles away and had no idea how to do things on my own. Right. And as a result, made some big, big mistakes. Right now, what you're doing is you are allowing a student teacher to learn as they go, not to just make big, epic mistakes when they don't have that support, when they don't have somebody to lean on and ask questions to. And again, circles back to our kids. Allow your kids to make some of those mistakes now while they have you to lean on and ask for support. Rae, you are so good at what you do.
No. I think it's a really fun process. You have to take the stress away and say, hey, I get to be part of this journey, just like we do with our students. And just like when a student messes up or makes a mistake or doesn't find success, we don't make them feel guilty. We problem solve. We celebrate they tried something and we say, guess what? Tomorrow's a redo day. We're just going to redo it, try it all over again. And teaching, it's almost easier because we can have redo class hours depending on what grade level you teach. I mean, she does the first hour, and sometimes I walk back in because you give her some space. I'm not always like on, watching everything she does. And I come in and I was like, how was first hour? And she's like, oh my gosh, Rae, it was terrible. This didn't work. The link and the kids and a mom popped on the call and da-da. It's like, oh, so what are we going to do? What are we going to do third hour? What's the plan? And she's like, I'm changing this, and this is going to be different, da, 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 da. And I'm like, okay, I guess I'm not needed. See you later. Okay.
Oh, that's so good. But the opposite of that is not necessarily even just holding their hand. It could be just saying good luck and walking away and never coming back. It's you found that nice balance of I'm here when you need me, and sometimes I'm here to ask the questions that you didn't know to ask yourself. Yes. And now let's go. Yeah. Good.
I am lucky. My cooperating teacher, when I student taught, took the same approach. And I won't lie, Dave, there were many times, I'm sure like we are with our parents, and I'm sure like our students are with us sometimes, there was many times in my student teaching where I was like, she's leaving me to figure all this out on my own, and teaching's hard. And I remember like disliking my cooperating teacher sometimes because she wouldn't give me the answer. And I was like, why won't you give me the answer? And now I'm like, oh, because, that's not how learning works.
Right. No, it's so good. I've told people the story before, but my oldest is 15. He didn't know how to tie his own shoes till he was 8. You know why? Because we're going out. Here, let me tie your shoes for you real quick. And I just always tied his shoes. And I'm still trying to undo some of that now that he's 15. Hey, Dad, I can't find the pants I want to wear. Like, go find them. No, you need to come find them. And it's like, no, now I've created that crutch where he can only do things if I help him. And It's so much harder to pull that away. I hope that educators are listening right now thinking, how can I support and offer guidance without hovering and without becoming a crutch? So you're doing a great job, Rae.
Well, I appreciate the guy. You guys are just so nice, always buttering me up. But no, I'm feeling good. Tomorrow's my last day at work for the next 3 weeks, and I'm not worried. If she needs something, if she wants to talk things out, she'll call me, right? We could always. I told her, I'm your brainstorm buddy if you need me to be. But she also has a teacher down the hall, a teacher across the hall. She also has a substitute that's going to sit in there for 3 weeks. I'm happy to be one of the many people that will be supporting her, and we'll be good.
Sort of like how you feel with the whole Teach Better family here, right?
Yes.
That's good.
Hey, you know what? Just like with Teach Better, you have people that you go to when you need certain things. Like I would go to you for support, Dave, for a different reason than I might go to Chad or Jack or Caitlin or Liv is a perfect example. Like just different people to get you different support. So I want my student teacher to see that. I can be supportive, but Nikki might be better. She's down the hall. Go ask her a question,
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Anywho, Dave, we've almost been live for an hour. We are going to wrap up our wonderful Sunday. I love being able to do this type of conversation with you where we get to do a little bit of the Q&A and the comments. Thank you to everybody who participated and threw in their questions. I also really appreciate that you give us a little recap of the Admin Mastermind that happens every single week, because I know that I can't be in every single session. No one really is a part of every session except for those really crazy core people who just show up everywhere. But the joke is like, even when to a meeting that I can't go to, I still love being able to learn about the insight that was shared. And so thank you for doing that recap with us. It's always so fun every other Sunday.
Well, I think it's just important for people to recognize that our leaders are out there working hard. That they are. And oftentimes we have no idea what they do unless they're in front of us, but they are working so hard to try to support everybody. So continue to support them, continue to boost them up, continue to shower them with love and appreciation as well.
Oh, so fun. For everybody, we wish you the most incredible week. Sunday, you're going to have so much positivity. Hopefully it lasts you all week long. If you need anything, Dave and I and everybody on the Teach Better team, including everybody in the Teach Better family, would love to support you. So let us know if you need something. And just as a reminder, we have so much going on that if you're not sure of all the things that are going on with the Teach Better team, feel free to go to teachbetter.com. There are so many updates there and blogs and podcasts being published daily. There's so much content. So go check it out. Dave, thanks so much. It was great to see you. And everyone else, have a good rest of your Sunday. Bye, guys.